Morning, this is Brian. Today is Sunday, October 11th, 2020. I am by the closed campsites of Blue Jay Campground, and I wanted to present a spotlight on trees today. And today's episode focuses on quite an interesting species. Species that can be either very common or pretty scarce, depending on where you are. And it's not a full species, it's actually a hybrid. So today's episode focuses on the oracle oak, Quercus morehus. And this is it right here. This is probably the finest specimen I have ever seen here in the Santa Ana Mountains. This is where I am in the Trabuco Ranger District of the Cleveland National Forest. And I am in southeastern Orange County, California right now. So, the oracle oak. Why am I so excited about it? Well, I'm excited about it because it's a tree, and you know me, I get excited about trees. Well, this one's a very interesting hybrid between one species that's very common here in the Santa Anas and one species that apparently is absent from the Santa Anas. So the oracle oak is a hybrid between the California black oak, Quercus kelloggii, the species that's supposedly absent from the Santa Ana mountain range, and the interior live oak, and ours is the shrubby interior live oak for the most part here, and that's Quercus wislizeni variety frutescens. So, when you have hybrid oaks, especially between two quite different species, you gotta think, how am I gonna tell? How am I gonna tell? What's the deal with these trees? How do they even hybridize if they're so different? Well, the differences are mostly cosmetic or visible. In other words, one of them is an evergreen oak that stays leafy year-round, and the other one drops all of its leaves in autumn, is leafless in winter, and leaves out in spring. So the differences are mostly on the outside. With oracle oak being the hybrid between the California black oak and the interior live oak, it's going to have various degrees of leaf retention and leaf shed. This one in particular, I have seen this one a few times before. I wanted to spotlight it a few months ago, but at the gate where it's closed, it said no hikers. This time the no hiker sign has been removed and just says that the campsites are closed and no parking over there. So I took it as, okay, I'm going to go check it out and see how it's doing. And apparently it's doing very well. This is the largest oracle oak I have ever seen here in the Santa Ana Mountains. Because you got to think, black oak, if you've seen my spotlight on trees on black oak from mid-August, you can see some of those trees get quite large. And we have the interior live oak, and those trees are, well, depending on what variety it is. If it's variety wislizeni, it can become a medium-sized tree. If it's variety frutescens, it's more of a shrubby, small tree, large shrub. So, I'm going to show you a shrubby interior live oak so I can show you at least one of the parents. The other parent is absent, apparently, from the Santa Ana Mountains. There have been some old vouchers from decades and decades ago, but they could be vouchers of oracle oak. Because oracle oak is scattered through the Santa Ana mountain range, and I have seen it many, many times. Now I'm trying to find you an interior live oak. Most of this is scrub oak and coast live oak here. But there are interior live oaks all around here. I just gotta find you one without wasting the whole video looking for interior live oak. Alright, here we go. Quercus wislizeni variety frutescens. So, this is the shrubby interior live oak. Right here. This is one of the parents. So, with that being said, the pollen from one tree, from one species gets to the other species, and the pollen on the pollen from the male catkin flowers gets to the female flowers and produces the acorn. So with that being said, deductive reasoning would say that interior live oak is the maternal tree. In other words, the tree that provides the acorn with the black oak DNA in the pollen and in the acorn itself, and that provides the oracle oak. So I don't know if that's that way 100% of the time, if it's always black oak pollen, interior live oak acorn, but my experience here in the Santa Anas tells me that at least here, that's the only way you're going to have it happen, because I've never seen a Quercus kelloggii here in the Santa Ana Mountains. So, the form of an oracle oak, again, intermediate in between the large black oak tree and the smaller shrubby interior live oak. So that's why we kind of have a small multi-stemmed tree right here. And down there, it's actually got like 3 trunks meeting at the base. So this is actually a pretty decent sized oracle oak, considering the parent, the parent, one of them is a pretty small oak. So this one's probably about 25 to 30 feet tall. That's pretty decent. It's larger than any other oracle oak here in the Santa Ana Mountains. And I've seen quite a few of them. Seen them scattered about around, let's say, I know I've seen them along Maple Springs Truck Trail. You'll see a couple along the way up the Upper Silverado Canyon, and I've seen a couple near Santiago Peak along Main Divide Road. So with that in mind, you saw the leaves of the interior live oak I pointed out earlier. The leaves are narrow, round, kind of small, and the black oak leaves you've seen on my previous spotlight on trees, the leaves are large and lobed and thin. So what does that mean for oracle oak? Intermediates. So you see here, like the black oak, the leaves have shallow lobation. They have small lobes, as you see here. Very small lobes. So the shape is quite similar in between the two. And another thing is it's intermediate in its thickness. The leaves are thicker than black oak, but a little thinner than interior live oak. So again, intermediate characteristics. Now, this is the first, here we go. Here's a picture of the acorn right up here. It actually has the acorn cup more akin to a black oak acorn, which is kind of light brown, kind of a little on the thick side, kind of scaly. And the acorn seed itself is closer to what a black oak acorn looks like. So the acorns are closer to the black oak parental lineage. And pretty much everything else is pretty much an intermediate characteristic. Now, however, the intermediacy between the species varies by the individual shrubs or trees. A lot of times this will be more of a shrub than a tree. However, there are some oracle oaks that will retain 90-95% of their leaves and be mostly evergreen. There are some that are about half deciduous, shed half of their leaves in fall and early winter, and are pretty sparse in their canopies. And there are some that are closer to 75% deciduous. And I've seen all 3 types. This one here usually loses about 60% of its leaves. I've seen it during the winter time before. And it does generate a little bit of yellow fall color, kind of like its black oak parent. So there is a little bit of yellow, late fall, early winter color. It's, again, since it's semi-deciduous, it's not going to be throughout the tree, but it does create a pretty festive display during the late fall months. And I have seen them as small as little tiny saplings and small multi-trunked shrubs, and I've seen them as tall as about 40 feet. And there's supposed to be one in the western Sierra foothills that's supposed to be 108 feet tall. So I'm pretty sure that the interior live oak was a tree one. So this is it, the beautiful oracle oak. It ranges wherever, basically wherever interior live oak grows, but also where black oak pollen somehow makes it. How it gets here? It might get here on a Santa Ana wind from the San Bernardino or eastern San Gabriel Mountains, maybe wind blowing up from Palomar, and those are places that have black oak and interior live oak and a lot more oracle oak than we have here. So it's pretty scattered here in the Santa Anas. It might exist in a few other spots. There are a lot of places I haven't been in these mountains, but all I can say is this is a fantastic hybrid, very interesting, and this is the largest one I've seen here in the Trabuco Ranger District. You'll get some decent-sized oracle oaks on Palomar Mountain. You might have seen one of my videos about oak diversity on Palomar Mountain. I recorded that a couple years ago, but I uploaded it within the last month or so. So you'll get to see what they look like in December when the leaves, half the leaves are changing beautiful yellow. There are also some in northwestern LA County where interior live oak and black oak do live, around Sawmill Mountain, which unfortunately burned in the lake fire of this year. And then Liebre Mountain also has oracle oaks. And again, you get black oak and interior live oak over there. Fortunately, the one I think it was 40 feet tall that I saw was going up to 7N23 from Pine Canyon Road, so it'd be in the lake fire burn area, unfortunately. But look at that, beautiful oracle oak. So, I told you that it's a hybrid between interior live oak and black oak. So that means this is a type of a red oak, because oaks within their lineages can and often do hybridize, making identification complicated. But oracle oak usually is pretty easy to pick out when you're looking at a hybrid. Some of them, the lobes are not even this deep. These are pretty shallow lobes, obviously, but sometimes the lobes are more like spines and waves. So again, leaf shape can be variable on these oracle oaks. These ones tend to have a lot more lobation, and some of them have very little lobation, and some of them have very strong lobation, but never as deep as black oak. So again, it's a red oak hybrid. It seems to be a stable hybrid capable of reproducing on its own. I'm pretty sure these acorns are fertile. And there you have it. Quercus morehus. M-O-R-E-H-U-S. Beautiful, beautiful shrub to small, sometimes large tree. And this is Brian, episode of Spotlight on Trees. I hope you found it a little more helpful to help identify some of these very, very, very confusing oaks here in California. And basically, again, since it grows where interior live oak grows, it's pretty much a California endemic. Maybe into Baja, perhaps, if black oak makes it down there. But there you have it. Quercus morehus, the oracle oak. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on another episode of Spotlight on Trees.